Peter, I got a lot of like normal people that watch the show that don't necessarily play the markets. And when they see Trump come out and say, I'm putting a $6 trillion, stimulus package in, or here in the UK, where they had these furlough programs where they're guaranteeing 80% of the wage, your average person thinks, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. This is what I needed to survive. But you see it completely different, right? You see it as actually something that's really going to hurt them in the long run. Can you explain that to the average person?
Well, people seem to be under the impression that governments just have this pile of money and that, normally they're kind of stingy with it and they don't want to share it with the people. But then, when there's a crisis, there's an emergency, all of a sudden they become more generous with this money and they just dole it out. And, oh, this is great. The government's going to help us. Now we're going to get all this extra money. And that's going to replace the money I'm no longer earning because I'm not working, I'm not productive. But it's okay. The government's just going to share this windfall with me. And this is all a bunch of nonsense. The government doesn't have anything, right? The government doesn't produce. They're not providing goods and services. All they do is print money, right? The central banks create money. And what money does, when you're talking about fiat money, right? Currency that's backed by nothing, just currency that central banks literally conjure out of thin air, right? That money in and of itself has no value. What happens is the people that have that money can use it to buy the goods and services that the market is providing. And so the more money in circulation, the higher the price of those goods and services. So when the government creates money and gives it to people, when those people who get the money spend it, they're simply buying something that other people can no longer afford because the price went up, right? The government isn't adding new production to the economy. It's just adding additional claims to the existing stock of production of goods and services. So it isn't a windfall, right? The government cannot support the people. It's the other way around. The government only has the resources it takes from the people. The people support government. Government can't support the people. Now, can the government support some people at the expense of others? Yes, the government can take from Peter to pay Paul, but that means Paul has lost something in order for Peter to get something. But what everybody thinks now is that Paul can get money and Peter, that the government doesn't have to take from anybody and can give to everybody. And this is a fiction. This is all going to end in tears because all we're doing is creating inflation. We are destroying the value of money in order to print more of it and to, distribute it. But, what we're getting now is more money, but less stuff, because people who used to be employed productively, producing goods and providing services are now sitting at home. And instead of getting paid for their contribution by their employer, they're just getting money for nothing from the government. They're putting nothing in, but they're getting checks to take something out. And so we're all going to be trying to bid for a diminished supply of goods and services with newly created money. And it's just inflation. But the problem is going to be greatest in the United States because we are printing more than anybody else. And I think that the dollar is going to lose its status as the reserve currency. We're going to have a dollar crisis, and the dollar is going to lose a tremendous percentage of its value, much more so than other fiat currencies. And it's going to mean a complete collapse in the American standard of living.